Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow hosts Johnny Paulus and Kim Ponticello.
Hello.
Don't know why I just said that with a British accent, but I did.
Don't know because it's so not British. Try again.
It's
Put your hand up a little bit.
Ponticello.
Kim, welcome in. How are you doing this week?
I am fantastic this week. Thank you so much.
That is wonderful to hear. You had a birthday this past week.
I did have a big birthday this past week.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. I finally turned 21. It's really amazing.
Oh, we got a snort out of her. Awesome.
Yep. Well,
no, it was a big birthday and it was fun. I did a birthday stream and we had a really, really good time with it. So it was great.
Yeah, I had to be sure to celebrate your birthday right at midnight on the day that technically wasn't the birthday stream because, oh man, I had to do a 900-mile business road trip the first 3 days of the week, which I will say this went very well. It was very good, very productive, great meetings and all that. Nothing but positive things to say. But god damn, driving 900 miles in the course of basically a day and a half is
That's
just
a lot.
That's
just brutal. Yeah, we were flying around all over the place. So I'm back home now. Things are good.
Welcome home.
I'm happy. And yeah, I ironically got a lot done video game wise in my hotel rooms this past week. So I digress. Johnny, welcome in, sir. How are you doing this week?
It's been a stressful week at work, but you know it is what it is. I'm back to Odie's Booze Box this Saturday for a gig, so I'm excited about that. I really like playing there. It's a fun crowd.
Do you remember anything we talked about last night?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely drank too much whiskey last night. That I can confirm.
Yeah, you were a little schmammered there, boss.
I got yeah.
I even did you see as it happened who I gifted the sub to? Because it looked like it just like you were like so drunk that it just went right over your head.
I remember a gifted sub, but no, I didn't see who it was for.
Please go back and watch the VOD.
Okay.
Well, actually,
you can check Stream Elements.
I actually clipped it and put it in general chat because I figured that you were completely gone. In your general chat for your Discord is where I put it.
Okay.
And yeah, I gifted a sub to a very important person, and it got right past you, which made it all the funnier for me. So
Who was it for?
it was for a refined guest who may or may not have been present at the stream.
I just pulled up the video.
Who did I gift that sub to?
So Mike likes to come into chat and say Bofa. A lot. It's like his joke. He likes to say Bofa so that somebody will say what's Bofa, and then he can reply with Bofa D's nuts. And
my God, that's so original.
So I just got gifted a sub. Somebody Mike gifted a sub to Bofa D's nuts on Twitch. So, shout out to Bofa D's nuts.
You're welcome, Johnny. You're just like, oh, thanks for the gifted sub. And then the stream ended.
Yeah, no, I was done.
Yeah,
I was done.
Well, everyone, welcome in. Johnny is looking happy and sober. Mm-hmm. Kim is looking young and vibrant.
Oh.
And you're 21. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And I am looking like a tired businessman, but we are here and we are ready to get rolling with episode 139 of your Power Gamer Podcast. That's right. We post this wonderful podcast every single week to all podcasting audio platforms as well as YouTube. It is completely ad-free and just out there for you to grab and digest. And we appreciate that you do, and would certainly appreciate wherever you're checking out our show, either if it's on YouTube, perhaps like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. And if you're checking us out on audio formats, maybe leave us a nice review. That goes a long way on Apple and Spotify, or wherever else you may be listening to the show. If you follow us on Twitter, X,
We're
Twitter.
just gonna keep on calling it Twitter.
We're just gonna call it Twitter until it goes back to Twitter.
if you follow us on Twitter at PowerGamerCast, every week, Kim and Johnny, one of the two or both, make a post asking for your questions.
It's really been Johnny. I've been pretty lazy.
Your questions will be looked at and perhaps read on the show. Both Kim and Johnny stream as well. And sometimes some of you like to post your questions for this show in their streams. And that is what we have this week. Johnny, did you ever figure out who asked the question? Or
yeah, Spazer Laser.
This week's question comes from Spazer Laser, who is a long-time listener of the show. We thank you for all your support and you checking us out every week and being awesome. So Spazer Laser asked us, what are the biggest disappointments in gaming this year? So certainly last week we talked about the games that each of us individually thought should be the true recipient of the title game of the year. Changing gears this week, we're going to look back at 2023 and each talk about a game that we were perhaps excited for and it didn't quite meet our expectations. Johnny, let's get started with you. What is your biggest gaming disappointment of 2023?
My biggest gaming disappointment, I remember when I saw the trailer for this game, I could not believe how much they had nailed the art style of everything that is Hellboy. I saw the Hellboy Web of Wyrd trailer and I was like, oh my God, day one, I'm buying this game, right? Like my logo on stream looks like Hellboy. I've got a Hellboy strapped to my microphone. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan. And when I saw the trailer, it looked like it was going to be everything I wanted in a Hellboy game. And I bought it the day that it came out. And about 20 minutes in, I said, uh-oh. I don't think this is very good.
Oh, and you even have your little Hellboy on your microphone.
I know. So many things went wrong with this game, and the real shame of it is that what went right went really, really right. Lance Reddick's, I believe it's his final performance as a voice actor. I know he was like one of the main voices in Destiny. He's done a ton of voice work. And you know, he recently passed away, and this was, I think, his last final role. And he voices Hellboy, and he did a really good job. I love his performance in this game. And then on top of that, again, I mentioned the art style. It looks like the comic book, the way that there's very little white in the Hellboy comics. Like even the paper is black. Everything is like black and red, and it's very stark like that. And they absolutely nailed that. The shadows, the darkness, the way everything looks, even the music, the soundtrack, it's like got some heavy metal ass kicking music. All of that is great. Unfortunately, it is a boring ass roguelike that your first time through the 5 levels is very easy. I did them all with, barely any deaths at all. And then it says, cool, good job, do it all again. So you go, okay, you do it all again. And then it goes, great, now do it all again in a row. And by the way, the difficulty curve just like tripled. I haven't gotten past the first level on the new, okay, do all 5 in a row. I can't even get past the first. So this is a game that I wanted to add to my list of games that I'm going to beat, a game that I really wanted to be something special. And it is a half-baked roguelike, and it really, really bums me out. I mean, what makes roguelikes interesting is the fact that every playthrough is different, right? You're like, oh, I have this different spell or this different power-up. This doesn't have that shit. It's the same punch, 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 dodge, punch, 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 dodge. Okay, I got more health. Punch, 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 dodge. For every fucking level. It's if they could just find a way to take this engine and just make an actual game out of it. Make a real adventure story cinematic. Give me something to latch onto that's not, hey, go into that portal to go into this thing to fight a bunch of shit. Good job. Now do it in the next door. Because that's literally what this game is. And it really, really is a big shame.
The princess is not in this castle moment over
Yeah.
and over. Yeah.
Yep. Over and over again.
Yeah, you've had this unfortunate string, and I know this is going to come up a little bit more later on, of really wanting to play a game, grabbing the game, getting, significant progress in that game.
Yep.
And then something happens and it stops being fun, but your stubbornness makes you keep pounding your figurative dick in the drawer just over and over.
It's true. Well, and we keep track of the games that we beat, and your list, Mike, it fucking is so much longer than mine of the games you've beaten. And I like every time I pick one of these games, I'm like, oh sweet, a Hellboy roguelike. I'll knock this shit out in 4 or 5 hours. And even when you Google like time to beat, it says 4 or 5 hours. Newsflash, you can beat the 5 levels in 4 hours, no problem. Beating them again and then again, no fucking way. No chance.
We always look for credits. We say, well, when we get to credits, then
correct,
it's done.
Credits have not rolled.
That is a bummer. Yeah, no, I know how excited you were for that, being the massive Hellboy fan that you are. So,
and it just, everything looked so promising. Man. I mean, it was like the moment I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. They nailed it. Holy fuck. And it's just, it's half baked. It's just, it feels like the studio went, well, we're out of money, so
we spin it all on Lance Reddick.
Throw it all together into a fucking repetitive roguelike, and then we'll just make them do it 3 times in a row.
I think it's still on my wish list, as a matter of fact, because when I saw it, I was like super thrilled. And it's been sitting on my wish list, and I'm a very patient person. That's why I don't normally play like game of the year topics are always so tough for me, because I really don't play. I play a lot of like older games, my fishbowl, right?
Right.
So
and indie titles, yeah.
And indie titles. I love indie games. My heart is like wide open for indie games, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Indie devs have so much love. So I put it on my list, and it's been sitting there. And then when you started describing it, I was like, I'm stuck between this thing of like, do I do it anyway because I love roguelites and I really want to see just how terrible it is, because I guess I'm a masochist or something. But the other part of me is like, well, maybe I should see if I can get a key for it on like one of the sites I go on, because then I'll try it.
I mean, as much as I've dragged this game, I do still think that like if you saw it on a Steam sale for $5-10, you can sit down and play it for a few hours and have fun. But if you really have aspirations of like trying to beat it, it gets really repetitive until it gets really frustrating. And now I'm at the point where I can tell the only way that I'm going to be able to get through these 5 levels in a row is, the perma level up unlocks, right? I'm going to have to get 500 of this thing so I can have a bigger health pool. And I'm going to have to get 1,000 so that I have more armor. And like, if I don't do those things, I don't think I'm going to get through the 5 levels. It just, for some reason, on that 3rd time when it wants you to go through them and it wants you to do them in a row, the enemies that I used to just absolutely wipe the floor with, I really struggle with. The game gets super duper hard on that 3rd playthrough. It's really strange.
What's funny is like, there's an easy solution to all the gripes that you have with this game. And I imagine a lot of people share the sentiment with you, right? Because people do like to finish games. But it sounds like the current mode that you're on should like almost be like some sort of new game plus.
Correct. Absolutely.
Because it's just gone overboard with its difficulty.
Right. So you beat the 5 levels, again, then there's like a cinematic and there's a reveal of who the big bad is. And then they're like, well, we know what we have to do. Let's go through it all over again in one run. And so, yeah, I haven't rolled credits. I haven't experienced the big boss fight. And I don't know that I ever will. I mean, it really sucked.
Oh, that's really sad.
So, Hellboy Web of Wyrd. Do better, Web of Wyrd.
Yep.
You've done my man wrong. Let's move on to Kim. Oh, we already have frowny face. What is your biggest
Because this is a hard one for me. Okay.
Year?
All right.
I know what it is, and I can help back you up. Okay, so just
okay. So
I can help back you up.
Little backstory. Okay, I had found out that there was an opportunity for me to stream a game. The publisher was going to give me the game to stream it with a friend of mine who has streamed for them in the past. And it was a really big deal. So, but my PC at the time was not up to par. They wanted at least a 3080 to show off all the great specs and that kind of stuff. So my partner was like literally the next day, the 4070 Founders Edition came out for an amazing price. And my partner was like, order it, right? So I got it. So I got this 4070 and I'm like, I'm ready. This is it. This is amazing. And I got approved. And so I got the key to Redfall, right? And my friend and I streamed it. And don't get me wrong, we had a lot of fun because I don't know, I'm one of those people, I can make fun with any game I touch most of the time. And Redfall did that. I still had fun. I was playing with a friend of mine and we streamed together really well. And so it was great. But there was no doubt that there were some major, major performance issues. I mean, everybody who's listening probably knows, the fact that I have a 4070 and a Ryzen 5 5600X, and I was dropping down to 9 frames is really bad. On top of that, you snipe an enemy right next to one of the enemies and they literally, it's like nothing happened. And so we got through a few streams because we were like, let's do this. It's a lot of fun and it's a great opportunity. I'm a huge Arcane fangirl. I've loved all of their games. I mean, I literally have a Corvo mask, right? I love Arcane. And so I really, really wanted to give it a good go. And it just wasn't doing anything. And then they went, for me, that's why it was such a disappointment, because I was just like, I was so excited for this game because the concept was really cool, to have this really cool story game where you can go in with your friends and these amazing powers, and the voice actors were fantastic. And the graphics, the style was so cool, such an amazing stylized game. And then for it to have so many issues was really disappointing. But now they've already put out a massive patch. They put out another patch today. I'm still playing it. We started playing it again, but this time my partner and I started playing it. I'm playing it Sunday and Monday because it's performance-wise, it's gotten a gajillion times better. He has an AMD graphics card, the equivalent of a 3060, and he was getting 85 frames per minute.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Which is good, or frames per second, which is really, really good. And so we went back in and we're doing it. Today they came out with another patch for performance and they added another sniper rifle. So they're working on it, and that means so much to me. But by far, that was probably, for me, the biggest disappointment, mainly because of, if somebody wasn't super excited and wasn't an Arcane fangirl and they may have been like, well, whatever, but because I was so excited and it meant so much to me that this game was coming out and I got the opportunity to stream it, I was like, no, it's supposed to be perfect.
Yeah.
But that was pretty and I know a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people gave up on it, but is it where it should be? No, I don't think so. I think it definitely needs more improvement in terms of the NPCs and stuff like that. But it's definitely, 150% better than when it was released.
Yeah, interestingly enough, with Redfall, is I started playing it on the Xbox Series X, and uh, I've historically been known to have motion sick problems, especially with first person games, especially ones that are only running at 30 frames per second. So I switched over to my PC, which is a 3080 and a 7700. I never felt like I had any problems with frame rate when I moved over to PC. So I am one of those rare birds that went and beat the entire game. Like pretty close to when it came out. I beat it in May. Played it co-op. Um, a lot of my issues with the game, obviously the AI, like you said, with the sniping and stuff, was kind of really silly. Especially when you look at like previous arcane games. Now, there is a distinction that has to be made. It's Arcane by name only. It's not the same team that made Deathloop. It's not that Arcane. It's Arcane Austin.
Okay, awesome. They did Prey,
Right.
which was phenomenal, by the way.
Prey is
awesome.
phenomenal.
Yeah, Prey's great.
But I do think there's some confusion there that, you know, a lot of times when it gets spoken about, you know, I think a lot of people think there's just one Arcane. There are actually two. My main issue with the game is you could put a gun against my fucking head and ask me what was the story. Like explain in detail what this game is about. And I swear to God I couldn't do it. It's really strange. I mean, the just whole writing, I guess how it got cleared and passed through editing, and I mean, yeah, you staple that together with all the technical issues that the game had, and you've got yourself a right mess, I guess. So yeah, I think disappointment and Redfall kind of go hand in hand, and I mean, even Phil Spencer came out and said, you know, more or less, hey, we're sorry about how disappointing this game is. We're going to do better and we're going to fix the game. So, you know, at least there's that component to it where the head of Xbox games is coming out and acknowledging that the game has problems. So at least there was some accountability there, we'll say.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, hearing Kim's story, that's brutal. I mean, because you figure most people that were disappointed, their experience was they saw the trailer, went, "Oh, this looks cool," and then it came out on Game Pass, and they hit the install button, and then if it sucks, you didn't really spend any money, you didn't really, but you were like, "I got a new video card, I got a new partnership, this is gonna be awesome."
She hasn't even said the worst part yet.
What worst part is that?
Somebody else's excitement for the game.
Oh, you mean my partner's?
Mm-hmm. And then poor guy.
That hurt me. Like, so he's, you know, my partner is this, like, he's a gamer, obviously, and he's big Arcane fanboy, and he loves vampires and he loves the art style. So the game was like literally right up his alley. And so I mean, for Pete's sake, he won a signed lithograph of like with all the devs. I have a lithograph of Layla's Layla's voice actor, Queen Dovine, but he has a lithograph with the entire team that signed it, and he was so excited for it. I mean, like literally, I would literally be like, I know. He's like, guess what's coming out in 3 days? Like, I mean, it was nonstop, and I was like, I know, trust me, I know, right? So it was nonstop, and so the game came out, and he was, I mean, when I tell you, he had this thing pre-ordered the second he could pre-order it. He was like a little kid at Christmas the day it came out.
And paid pre-order.
Paid pre-order. Like, I mean, he was like on this. He's like, this is going to be game of the year. This is it. Like, he was like so excited. And so when he went to play it, and literally it was like at high, like the most FPS he could get was like 20. So he was like, I mean, when I tell you his review on Steam, wow, like he waited a while and then they went radio silent. So he finally left a review. And he was I mean, I hate to see him disappointed because he's like this big, beautiful. He comes across as like this, like he's Dutch, and so he's like super honest and blunt, but he's like super sensitive, you know.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, it killed me because he was so upset, you know. And he talked about it every day. He was like, "If only we could play Redfall. If only we could play Redfall." And I'm like, I know. And so he did go back and revise his review because he's happy with the updates that they're making, and he's happy that they haven't let it go. Because I'm sorry, we've had so many games that have come out and came out as disasters, and then the devs just let it go. The devs are like, "Oh well, we tried," and they're not. They're not doing that. They're literally pouring their heart into it and doing their best to make it work. And so he updated his review, and he feels much better about it. Like, we're having fun playing it, and he's happy. So that makes me happy because my heart like broke for the guy. We can't hear you, Mike. Nope. Can you hear me? Can I hear you?
I can't hear you. I decided to do everyone a huge favor because my cat was like doing cat noises.
Got it.
So I muted my mic. Yeah, not those cat noises. The my tum tums isn't feeling too good cat noise. He got it sorted. He got it sorted out.
Right,
he's fine. Doesn't appear to be a mess over there. We'll find out in a minute. Speaking of cat vomit, the Lord of the Rings Gollum.
What a segue, dude. What a segue. Woo! There that was.
Is easily I just killed Kim.
Bro, that's the best segue you've ever had. Ever. That is the king right there. That's snort.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of cat vomit, the Lord of the Rings.
I'm crying.
The Lord of the Rings Gollum is less appetizing than whatever Hermes ate 10 hours ago. Look, I can really dunk on games when they deserve it, but let's start with the positive, shall we? Let's start with the positive. So yeah,
let's do it.
From the time it was announced, I was interested. Johnny can vouch. Listeners of the show can vouch. I was legitimately interested in Lord of the Rings Gollum. Everyone knows that I love stealth games, and I think Gollum is fucking hilarious because, well, he's Gollum. I'm not going to try and do a Gollum impersonation. I don't think that would go very well for me, but
stupid fat hobbitses.
There we go.
It was good.
Just needed one. That was a good one.
It was all right.
It was fine. So Lord of the Rings Gollum was checking a lot of boxes for me. I mean, I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings stan on the planet. I like the movies. You know, I'm in that category of like the movies, didn't read the books, not planning to. Movie's great. And some of the other Lord of the Rings games that I've played, because I've played like the Shadows of War series or whatever it was called. Battle for Middle Earth back on the 360 was great. The real-time strategy, Johnny's favorite genre. I really have liked Lord of the Rings content for a while. So I'm like, cool. Now we get Smeagol as Sam Fisher running around killing fucking orcs. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so the game comes out. Obviously, it's reviewed like absolute hot crap. And that does not sway me because this happens all the time, right, Kim? This happens all the time. You know, Lord of the Rings Gollum had a similar review score to the Invincible.
We're going to talk about that later.
So, and think about that for a second. Anyway, so Lord of the Rings Gollum, I didn't want to pay full price for it because I'm scared. So finally, GameFly had this discount where I could buy a GameFly copy for like, you know, $20, I think it was $20 or $30,
something like that. Yeah,
I forget. So I buy my copy. It shows up. Get it for the PS5. because I want to feel everything Smeagol feels on my DualSense. Pop the disc in, start playing it. Immediately am faced with character models that look like they were developed for the Sega Dreamcast, but somehow on top of like really beautiful, professionally modern done backgrounds. So I'm like, okay, we have character model problem. There's plenty of good games out there that have great backgrounds. It's a good game, and the character models don't look great. We're going to talk about another one of those in a little bit too. Then the game starts being the game, and characters start falling through solid floors, and Smeagol starts floating around in outer space. And then the whole game is like this weird, you're just a prisoner simulator that I thought was like going to be like a level, and it's actually the whole game. But I'm sticking with it because I am really good at finishing games, really good at it. So I get to the sequence where I'm Smeagol, I'm running on all fours, I'm escaping some orc thing that's trying to kill me. And I hit a checkpoint, loading screen, which is funny when a game this low res, but loading screen, going to the next level, and Smeagol literally loads in like 10 feet above the ground, comes down to the ground, and then just keeps right on going. And so he dies because he fell through Middle Earth. And then you respawn, spawn, ground, keep going, die. Black screen, hard crash. Okay, so reload the whole game. Load, floor, ground, dead, reload, load, ground, floor, black screen. I did this 10 times just to verify that the game was actually that broken. At about the 60% completion point, and resigned with their horrible failure, I ejected the game from my PS5, put it back in its case, and sat it on a shelf, hoping, you know what, maybe they'll patch it. Well, what could be more disappointing than the studio that made the game literally being completely disbanded for what a failure this was? So there's nobody working on it. There's no studio. There's nobody. They fucked up so bad, they didn't even get a patch cycle for this game. They're gone. And the hands are being washed. And we're going to forget this game ever existed. So not being handled at all like Redfall, Lord of the Rings Gollum is basically as bad as you can possibly do at making a game. And it's ironic, Kim, it's ironic that this is done with such a big IP. You know, this isn't some original thought. Can you think of a time like an IP of this magnitude was ever treated like this? I mean, I'm
Like
scratching my brain.
you mean like to the point where it was like, wow, this was so bad, you're done, like that?
Yeah, like E.T. on the Atari, maybe. It's.
I don't know. I mean, I do know. So I know one of the voice actors from the game. He didn't do Gollum, although he does an amazing Gollum. So the voice actor who does Sherlock in like the more recent Sherlock games, his name is
Great.
Alex Jordan. I met him because he rated me while I was playing Sherlock Chapter 1. So amazing voice actor. He was very excited for the game because he voices one of the characters.
The old man, probably.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't remember. So I went to go watch him stream it, and he couldn't stream it. Like the optimization was that bad that he couldn't stream it. It was so bad. And it's like, it's so sad because you have so many talented people, you know, who really put their heart into it, because he doesn't do half-ass voice acting. When he voice acts, it doesn't matter if it's a small role. Matter of fact, you know who he did recently was Mr. Hands in the Cyberpunk DLC.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
he puts his heart into it, you know? And yeah, so like to see, like just to think of like all the voice actors who put their heart into this, and then the game was such a flop the because the developers failed the game. And then on top of that, to be like, wow, this was so bad, no more. Like,
Yeah,
you're done.
it
That's
nailed it.
so
Yeah,
sad.
he was the
It's so
Frail Man who's
terrible.
like a huge character in the game.
Okay.
It was really good. Like that
He's
was
an amazing voice actor. He's honestly like one of the best voice actors. He's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah.
yeah, Gollum completely knocked it out of the park on my disappointment list. And
Yeah.
you know,
Understandable.
I think a lot of people thought it was going to be bad, right? And I wasn't kidding myself. I didn't think like the Smeagol video game was going to be a Game of the Year contender this year. Like,
Right.
I didn't have any disillusions, but I did expect it to maybe at least be playable. And no, it was just
well, it's
hot.
crazy because when I went to go apply for it, they wanted people who were getting like 100 CCV, 100 concurrent viewers on their streaming platforms, and I was like, well, I'm gonna apply anyway. I'm like, but wow, they must have really high hopes for this game. And then to see it come out, and I was like, wow. Like, I bet they wish they would have lowered their requirements a little bit.
Well,
so bad.
Doo-doo.
Yeah, that's sad.
I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan. Like
That you are, yes.
The Lord of the
Huge.
Rings trilogy, in my opinion, is the greatest film trilogy of all time. And I will happily argue anyone on that point if they would like. The shame of this is that, like, on paper, I was like, dude, I'm in. I mean, the moment they said, like, we're making a Gollum video game, I was like, that's going to be fucking incredible.
Yeah, I was excited. Very excited.
Because, I mean, I'm thinking Shadow of War polish level, right? It's Lord of the Rings. You should, like, put that level of care into
This
it.
is huge.
The moment I saw the character model for Gollum, my expectation, dude, I mean, I flambéed the character model on the Power Gamer podcast Twitter. It was so bad. And then when the reviews started coming out and people were comparing it to, like, you know, quest paths from, like, you know, early 2000s, I'm like, man, this is not sounding promising. But I mean, it's a shame, but this does happen with licensed stuff all the time. Rise of Kong. Have you guys seen the videos of what Rise of Kong looks like?
So bad.
It looks like an N64 game. Like,
so bad.
How does that get packaged and sold?
Yeah, you know, how does that get past? How does that get past the team? How do people look at that and say, you know what, this is a winner? I don't know. In this day and age, you know, like, it's different. If you're creating something meant to be low poly, that's different, you know. Right. There are so many beautiful low poly or like voxel games and like, but if you're packaging something that's supposed to be a game that's not, I don't know, how do they look at that and say, yeah, this is it, we're good to go, let's put it out there, this is great.
I sometimes wonder if certain games aren't released with the intention of being so epically bad that people buy them. Because I kind of feel like that with the Kong game.
I agree.
You know, I can't imagine anybody looking at that and going, oh yeah, you know, we'll sell like 20,000 copies of that and call it a day.
Yeah.
You know, I almost feel like it probably had to have done better than that. Because like most like low B tier indie games, you know, they sell 20,000 copies. They're doing backflips. But like Kong is so bad and so broken. You know, you almost feel like, okay, if we release this, every streamer is going to pick it up on the planet.
Yep.
Because it's going to review so horrible.
And I mean, it did go viral. I've seen so many little snippets of that game, and I'm sure you're absolutely right. There's enough content creators out there that went, oh, I can get a couple videos out of this game. And I mean, but yeah, I mean, with Gollum, I'm piggybacking with you, Mike. It was a big letdown for me as well.
Well, very good. Those are our biggest gaming disappointments, I guess, so far. We still have a little bit of year left, so
have a little bit of time to be disappointed.
a little bit of time, yeah.
A little bit of time left. Let's instead move on and talk about the games that we've been playing this week. Johnny, let's get started with you this week. What have you been playing there, sir?
I've been playing Final Fantasy XVI pretty much every night. The kids go to bed. My wife is invested in the story, and we sit down and I play, another 2, 3, 4 hours of the game. I've now broken the 40-hour mark. And I'm this game I'm really torn on because I heard so many good things and the trailer looked incredible, and like I can tell you right now I'm far enough in the game to where unless it like drastically turns the corner and just sticks the landing far beyond what I'm expecting, this is going to be one of my lower rated Final Fantasy games. I really, really wanted to like love and adore this game, and I just don't. For me, well, here let me pose this question to both of you.
I haven't played it yet.
Let me just pose
I haven't
this.
either.
That's fine, but I'm just going to pose this question to both of you. Mike, what is your favorite aspect of Final Fantasy as a franchise? Like, just give me one thing that you love about Final Fantasy.
Cloud's hair.
Cloud's hair. Okay.
I'm kidding. The best thing with a Final Fantasy, for me, has always been number one, the music.
Okay. The music's still great. No issue there.
Oh my god, what the fuck is my Riverside doing? Sorry, I'm like fighting with my window trying to get the camera lined up.
Kim, what about you? Let me see if I can get the answer I'm looking for out of you.
The things I liked about Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Final Fantasy games. What's a big thing that they are always strong with?
Well, I mean, I always loved the combat style.
Mhm.
I always loved it because it
It's a good one.
was different. I love chocobos.
The chocobos are really dope in Final Fantasy 16. I will say that.
Love chocobos. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since forever and ever.
So for me, my favorite thing about Final Fantasy games is the characters in your party and the story arcs that they go through and the connections and the loss of some characters and the retribution of some characters and the betrayal of some characters. Final Fantasy 16, the vast majority of this game, it's you and one other character.
Oh,
there is no
that's
party of
interesting.
4, party of 5. And there's a few missions you do where like someone else joins the party and you're like, sweet, there's 3 of us. Okay, cool. All right, we're starting to build the party up. And then you finish that level and they're like, well, thanks for the help. See you later. And it's back to 2 again. And then there's also portions of the game where it's just you by yourself. And that mixed with the fact that I've already stated that I think the combat is very repetitive, very easy. There's no like, the Final Fantasy VII Remake had that pause mechanic where you could pause and pop a heal, and then you could pause and switch character and go, I'm going to put a frost spell on that guy, and I'm going to put a fire thing on that. This doesn't have that. This has pound the attack button, dodge when they're going to dodge, and burn your cooldown. So that is the combat. But the shame of it is that like the story is great, and cinematically, this is a true next-gen game. This is a game that could not exist on PS4. Like this is a PS5 only. There's so many big, epic moments in this game that make me say wow. But then there are portions of the game where I just don't fucking care. Like there was an entire like 2-hour segment of the game where we're in a town to try to do something, and I literally was like, oh my god, I don't care. Fucking move on. And that doesn't really happen for me with Final Fantasy games. And I came in wanting this game to be a 9, and I'm thinking it's probably going to be a mid-7.
Wow.
And I'm pretty lukewarm on a lot of this game. What works really works. The music is still great. The graphics is still great. The story's fine, but there's a lot that disappoints me. And also, strange thing with the addition of the cursing and the blood, it doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. It feels like they went for the mature rating for street cred, and it doesn't feel like Final Fantasy to me. So I'm still getting through it. I'm gonna beat it. I know I've been kind of slagging on it a bit, but I wanted more. Now
I heard in Final Fantasy 16, and you can shed some light on this.
Sure.
That it's the best thing about the game is the boss fights.
Yes.
Like, and
Yeah.
that they're so much better than anything else that's out there.
Agreed. And yes, and there are moments when there are characters that are called dominants, and the dominants are able to transform into these beasts that we recognize as the summons from the old Final Fantasy games. So one is Bahamut, and one is Ifrit, and one is, Phoenix, and one is Shiva, and those are all big boss fights. And there are times when you are a gigantic Godzilla-sized monster fighting another gigantic Godzilla-sized monster. And some of those sequences are some of the most impressive scripted gameplay moments that I've ever fucking seen. But then it's just wrapped around repetitive content, filler parts of the game, and then just really fucking bad side quests. And I know I'm not even going to mention it again. I've ranted about them twice. Moving on. Anything else anybody wants to add on the Final Fantasy 16?
That was the only thing I'd heard about it that I hadn't felt like I heard you mention. So that is all for now, sir.
The big boss fights are great. Big boss fights are really fucking awesome. That's definitely the best part of the game. Now for a sad tale. Ori and the Blind Forest. I know I complained about how much this game was frustrating me and how hard it was. And Mike will vouch for this. I am a stubborn son of a bitch. No matter how much a game pisses me off, some games will just get their claws in me, and I will keep hammering away. I finally got past the part that I was stuck, and I felt like I was really making progress with this game. I looked to even further bum myself out of how far I am in the game. I was probably at the 70% mark. I was maybe 3 hours from beating it. And I like yesterday was looking forward to playing it. I sat down and fucking fired up the game, and I picked up my Xbox controller, and I pressed the button to turn it on, and it did the blink, 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 and it wasn't connecting. And I was like, okay. And I pulled the back panel off, pulled the battery, put the battery back in, fired it up again. It does blink, 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 blink. And I'm kind of like just sort of pressing buttons. And I press the A button, which goes to the continue screen. And then I press the Y button, which deletes your save game. There was not a prompt. Are you sure you want to delete your save game? No, it was there. And then to make matters worse, I immediately go, well, I just did it, so let me log out. Let me just close the game real quick. The second I close it, I see Steam Cloud go syncing, and I'm like, I just fucking ruined it right there. If I had gone in, I'm sure I could have recovered it from the cloud, but the fact that I exited out of the game with it deleted, Steam Cloud went, cool, I got you. Let me update. Cool, no problem. Your save game's updated. And then I started Googling on where the files are located. I even tried like those undelete apps that can find files that have been deleted. And I told it to search the folder where it's supposed to be located, what the file name's supposed to be, and just came up empty everywhere. So my game is gone. Doesn't hurt quite as bad as when I accidentally deleted my Breath of the Wild save that I was like 70 hours in. That was really bad. This was not nearly that bad because I was, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours in, but it still bums me out. It was a game that I was having a really hard time with. I finally had kind of like gotten the hang of it, was starting to really get better at it. It wasn't pissing me off nearly as much as it was originally. And then I just fucking deleted my game. And it's only been 24 hours. And my first instinct was, well, the heavens above are telling me, just leave that one on the shelf. But I know in my mind that if I fire that game back up, I can get through that content that I was struggling with in probably half the time. I could probably catch myself back up in 2-3 hours. Because a lot of that game is just trying the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. And I think with the prowess that I'd finally gotten to with that game, I think I could get caught up. So yesterday I was like 100% like, fuck it, I'm moving on. But now that little nagging voice in my head's going, hey, you could fire it, you could get caught up, you could get back up. So maybe I'll give it a week, maybe I'll give it a month, maybe I'll give it a year, but I probably will at some point go back and because I want to play both of them. They're supposed to be awesome. I finally was kind of like having fun with it, and then I cucked myself with my fucking controller. I'm so upset about it.
I mean, I mean, you know, Ori is like beloved to me.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't have an amazing story, and if it didn't just get better and better and better, I would say, yeah, you know what though, you got through most of it. It's not a big deal. The rest is all the same. But
Yeah.
you need to pick that game back up again.
Ugh,
like you need to.
okay.
You have to. You have
All
to.
right, I will.
I'll be on the other shoulder. You should have flushed that a while ago because, and I agree with what Kim's saying. It looks like a good game. It looks like it's a lot of fun for certain people, and you are not one of them. Johnny, I want you to think back through the last month and a half of your life.
Yeah.
And tell me about the game that you really had fun with.
I've had fun with a lot of games in the last month.
Like what?
Marvel Snap, Final Fantasy 16.
Okay. Well, Final Fantasy 16. Okay, let's define a normal person's fun.
Hold on a second.
You've had a lot of bad things. Like it felt like you just dunked on it for 5 minutes.
Are you saying I'm not normal because I think the game is relaxing?
No, I think you
Ori
are.
and the Blind Forest is not relaxing. Not
It's
for me.
so
think-
relaxing.
Kim, I think you are normal. What I'm saying is, I watch Johnny stream a ton. Okay, an absolute ton, and I can't remember a period of time watching Johnny with video games that even came close to like the past month and a half.
Between Hellboy and Ori, yeah.
Between Hellboy and Ori, I mean, even Marvel Snap's been driving you fucking nuts lately. It's like everything I watch you touch.
Maybe it's user error.
Maybe.
It can be, but it's like every damn thing I've watched you touch lately has just been driving you fucking insane.
No, I'll admit it. Ori is really special, and I do know a lot of people. I mean, look, not for nothing. I'm somebody who finds getting over it with what is this Bennett Foddy? I find that to be super relaxing. That is like super zen. I hyper focus, super relaxing. I love it. So I admit my brain is a little bit different.
Right.
I'm wired differently, and so Ori to me, I just kind of like zone in on and get through it, you know, and love it. So, but I definitely think I know a lot of people who are like, absolutely not. Yeah.
Man, there were many times in that game where I would die 30 times trying to get past one little stupid thing.
All right, let's get you wrapped up here, sir. What else have you been?
And then I also scooped because I loved the show so much, One Piece, you know, this huge franchise that everyone loves that I didn't even know was a fucking pirate thing. Watched the show and loved it. And then I was like, well, shit, now I want to play this game that came out, I think it came out last year. Might have came out the year before. But One Piece Odyssey is a full-blown One Piece JRPG. Turn-based combat, super cute graphics, super well optimized, runs like a dream. And yeah, I didn't play much of it. I played like 2 hours, but no, it looks great, runs great. I'm loving the turn-based JRPG and the art style and all that. So yeah, I have another JRPG to sink my teeth into. I don't know if I'm gonna like dive full force into that game right now. I got a lot of other shit I want to play, but I scooped it on Steam sale and wanted to check it out. So yeah, I did play a little bit of that as well.
Fantastic. Let's see, Kim. We need to move on to you and talk about some games that you've played this week. Now we've got one in common, so I'm going to ask you to save that
Okay.
for later, so we can hop on that together. But
Okay.
what else have you been playing this week?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I started playing Redfall again. Not going to talk anymore about it. I'm not going to give it a review until I'm totally done. I did complete Kona 2, which is one of those games that nobody's ever heard of. Like, I feel like nobody knows this game. Kona and Kona 2 literally all take place. You know, a couple weeks ago, I talked about finishing Kona with that bizarre ending that we were like, so Kona
Is the
2.
game actually over?
Yeah, we were like, good game. Kona 2 was great. It literally picked up right from the end of Kona. And it was really cool. The gameplay was awesome. You're basically this private investigator investigating the death of your client, and you've come to find out that there's like all this bizarre stuff going on in this part of Canada. And so you're investigating it and you're trying to get rid of a Wendigo. And it was definitely really cool. And I'm happy I got through it. And the sounds in it were I'm a big sound person. And the journal that you carry in the book, I loved flipping the pages. I'm weird like that. So it was good. I really liked it. I don't think it's for everybody. It's kind of slow. But I'm very thankful I have a chat that we all keep each other entertained, and they like watching me stumble about trying to figure things out. So it works out. We have a game in common we're going to talk about later. And then I beat Shadow of the Colossus. And I have to tell you something. I did rage on a couple parts, okay? I definitely had very long, drawn out motherfuckers, like probably like 5 times, right? The game was astounding. The game was, first of all, I cried so hard my last stream. It's like, why? Who did this? Why did they write this into the game? And then on top of it, just as a whole, the story is so sad. It was just so sad in such a beautiful environment, but just so sad and so bittersweet. You know, it's like, I don't know. I really, really loved it, and I'm happy I beat it. Some of the Colossus were definitely a challenge for me. There were times that I cannot count on my fingers and toes how many times I fell or died because I looked over at chat because somebody said something or made a sound, or, you know, but it was, honestly, it was a really, really cool game. And I'm glad that was the latest game that I had pulled from my fishbowl. And, I'm really, really happy that I was able to get it done. Yeah. It's a game that'll stick with me for sure. It'll stick with me. I can understand why it's so beloved. Yeah.
Very few games age that well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like it's such an old game, and I mean, you can tell it's old by the camera sometimes literally made me want to smash my face against my keyboard. Okay? But that's just old games. You know,
Yeah.
it's old games.
The whole PS2 generation is just full of those kinds.
The camera angles, sometimes I don't even know how many times I yelled camera, like screaming at the camera. But would I recommend people play it? Yeah. I feel like that's one of those games that it's like, you need to play this. Like, you have to, because it's so phenomenal. It's so phenomenal. But I cried really hard. I do have another game that I forgot to add to, just a real quick blurb. But so, Johnny, I guess you love Shadow of the Colossus, because I saw your super excited reaction.
I played it when it came out, so I haven't played it in a very long time.
Oh, loved it. Mike was there for some of it. Mike got to see some of my
it was daytime, so I kept getting angry whenever someone would call me. I'm like trying to give some tips, some advice, and whatever. It's like,
it's a pretty short game too, right? It's like
it's
10
not
hours.
Long. It's
something
10,
like that,
12, somewhere in that
range.
Like
that, yeah.
I love games that length.
Yeah, and then I also played real quick today. I totally forgot. I actually popped into I don't know if you guys are. I love horror games, and we popped into Outlast Trials today because we haven't played it in a while. And if you like horror games, if you like the Outlast series, and if you like co-op multiplayer, I highly recommend it. We laughed the entire time. We played for about 3 hours, and we literally laughed and screamed the entire time. Definitely a recommended game. It is a lot of fun.
That game does look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's a blast.
We're gonna cross over here together momentarily. So
yes.
I'm gonna get Spider-Man 2 out of the way. I played Spider-Man 2 a lot more yesterday. The thing happened, and now the stuff's happening, and now I'm like totally invested in the game, and it's awesome. I guess it's not a spoiler to talk about the thing, because they like straight up show it in all the trailers. But then I thought it was like kind of shitty that they showed the thing in all the trailers. Do you know what I mean? Am I making any sense here?
No, because I don't
Does-
really watch game trailers.
So the symbiote, can I just say that?
Oh,
And,
yeah, okay, yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I always thought that was kind of weird. Like in one of their reveal things, they're like, the symbiote suit. Felt kind of spoilery, but anyway, I got to that point in the game, and now the game's fucking awesome. I'm like, there it is. That's what I needed. The je ne sais quoi, or however the fuck you say it, you French maniacs.
You're so French.
Very French.
He was complaining in chat about it. He was like, while I was playing Kona 2, he was like, well, I guess I'll try and play more Spider-Man 2. And like in his words, you could feel his
Yeah.
And then he came back later and said the thing happened. And one of my viewers who's a big Spider-Man fan was like, do you see what I'm saying now?
Yes. No, I was getting like, it just was dragging on, and I felt like I had saved enough fucking cats and rode enough fucking bicycles to last a lifetime. And I'm just like, when is this game gonna like do something? And then finally it did. So Spider-Man 2, I have more to say about that later. We've been going on for a bit here, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, shall we? Let's first talk about a game that I finished, a game that was put onto my radar by Kim, and I'm so glad it was. I've already beat this game, so I will be mindful that you haven't. But I beat
Johnny? Viewer,
John,
yeah, like listeners and viewers.
Johnny, were you planning on playing this? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know which of the games you're talking about.
The Invincible.
Yeah, I'll play it.
Me and Kim are both playing the Invincible. Well, I'm done playing it. I beat the living pants off that game.
I think I should finish it next stream.
It does not take long. You definitely will finish it next stream if you play it again. We need to talk about this though real quick, because I had mentioned that a game that was later in the show had the same review score as Gollum, and that would be the Invincible,
It's bizarre.
which got a 5 out of 10 on IGN and all sorts of weird stuff we talked about last week. If you want to hear more about that, just pause this episode, go back. You can look at the timestamp if you're on YouTube and check that out. But I digress. The Invincible is a really neat space walking simulator, which is like the worst genre name of all time. It just means that you're playing in a story where you're not necessarily engaged in combat all the time.
Right.
I hate it. I prefer calling them narrative adventures.
That's a
Perfect.
much better way of putting
Yeah.
it. Yep,
Yeah.
I love that.
I really enjoyed the Invincible. I have a lot to say about it, but Kim, I'll let you kind of get your initial thoughts about the game out there as you're about. Should I tell you how far through you are? Like
Yeah,
in a
go for it. I
percentage?
just hit the rover.
You're about 50% of the way through the game.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, I thought so.
But yeah, how are you feeling about it so far? What's the initial impression been like, and
So-
what do you see?
The environment is so stark and so bleak, but so beautiful at the same exact time. I don't know how to describe it. It feels very lonely. It feels very empty, but it's also very full. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's the best way I can describe it. It's the environment is absolutely beautiful.
The planet is like if life was on Mars.
But
Like
not much
our
life at all.
Mars. Yeah, if it was on Mars.
So if
at
you
one
knew there
point.
was life, but there's none left, that's
Because it has the red planet vibe, but then there's also the beauty of the vegetation, or whatever you want to call it in the game. There's some kind of mystery behind that.
yeah.
Going on. And there's like little pockets of water and lakes and rivers and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like if Mars just kind of went that next step forward. It kind of
Yeah.
has that feel. The planet's Regis 3.
Regis 3. And then
And,
in space, you can see another planet with rings. And it's just like, it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful game. The voice acting is top notch. I mean, there's nothing that'll ruin a game faster for me than bad voice acting. I can't stand bad voice acting. And the voice acting in this game is the character you play is Yasna, right?
Mhm.
And wow, her voice, oh my gosh. Like her voice is absolutely beautiful and the acting is phenomenal and the conversation between her and the others and the main person that she's communicating with and just everything. She's so lost but so amazed and so excited but so scared, and you can hear all of it in her voice, and it's honestly it's absolutely amazing. Gameplay wise, it's a narrative adventure. You know, like you're not doing a ton of things, you're not fighting things, you're not, it's not an action game. It's literally a narrative adventure. So you're learning about what's happening and there's this big mystery going on, and you're literally just traveling throughout trying to get to the places you need to get. And 5 out of 10, that reviewer is smoking some sort of crack. I don't know if they have something against the dev. I don't know, but that was a biased review, and you can't tell me otherwise because that game deserves so much more, so much more.
My time with the Invincible, and I'll try and limit it to the same point that you left off at, because boy, oh boy, are things going to happen that you're just going to love. The Invincible gets a lot right, and not all of it's just the emotional, and not all of it's just the story, and not all of it's just the voice acting. But just as a game on its own and its technical prowess, its graphical presentation, um, its use of camera. Can we talk about the use of camera? Because first person, we've had it really just done every which way, but the first person in the Invincible really kind of feels like a different step with that camera angle, and that you're really, they really have it attached to the eye view of the character. A lot of times when you're playing first person games, it looks like half your torso is cut off, your shoulders are up here, your hands are here, and you're a floating fucking gun.
Yeah.
Right? That's how most first person games present the camera angle. And this one, it's very natural. Your hands are in the right place. There's a microphone that hangs in your helmet that you can always see, which is a great, like, kind of just design choice because, oh yeah, that would make sense. But that microphone almost feels like a tool for you to center your vision as you're looking around. I found myself referencing that little microphone that's off the side of the screen subconsciously all the time. Uh, Movement is also kind of geared towards the first person's perspective and it not being a run and gun shooter. For example, Yasna can sprint forward, but when you go backwards, she walks backwards carefully, and she can't sprint sideways like a like you nobody can. You can't sprint that way in real life. So everything feels really tied and committed to the presentation that the game's making. That's just technical feel goods, right? The graphics are beautiful, the music is fantastic. But then the actual story that's laid out and the mystery, and the fact that you're playing a choose your own adventure book and you don't know it. Kim, your playthrough is completely different than mine.
Really?
Has nothing to do with mine.
That's really cool.
Wow.
Like, there's hours of dialogue that are happening for you I've never seen.
That's astounding.
That's
really cool.
Uh-huh.
And could we talk about too when she starts getting, when things are happening, sandstorms, when something's coming over her, You could see her eyes getting heavy because the screen like dims out.
And you can see the back of her eyelids, like you do. Like if you close your eyes
It's
and
not
look at something
black.
bright.
It's
Yeah,
not black.
it's
Yeah.
that same color like you actually see when you close your eyes looking at something
Yep.
bright.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't know it was that different than your.
every
I'm
choice
so
that
excited.
every choice that you're making and
Yeah.
things that you are or are not finding is affecting everything that you're seeing
Huh. Okay.
in this game.
That's really cool.
It's wild.
That's really cool.
You know, and sometimes it'll be like the same scenes, but it's played out completely differently. It's very interesting what they've done. I really think that this is a fantastic game. I honestly don't have too many hard things to say about it. Sometimes the pacing can be a little bit off. Some of the interaction with controls in the game can be a little off. There is some pop-in issue in how they've deployed uh, the engine, so that's very common. Especially, I feel like I've seen a lot more in Unreal Engine 4 than I have 5, and it is a UE4 game, so it's not perfect. I don't want to paint an incorrect picture like that. This is the hidden game of the year. It's not, but it is really good. And for anybody that likes a narrative-driven game, or just needs a break from the same fucking shit that you always play, this is the game. This is the one to go after. This is the one to get. If you like space games, right? But you're tired of 30K'ing every 5 seconds in Star Citizen, or you're tired of the same cookie cutter, generic, randomly generated planets in No Man's Sky and just need a break. You know, maybe you want to go back to that. That's great. Maybe you're tired of playing the same 10 hours of story over and over again in Starfield and you're on New Game Plus 9 and you just need to reset. Come to the Invincible. It's really, really good. If you're into the sci-fi setting, it's even better. Full deal disclosure. I was able to buy this game on cdkeys.com for $20 on Steam. So if you're looking for a good deal on the game, you will find it there.
Awesome.
The Invincible is very good. I have rated the game, and I know it's like all that glow up. Mike, where did you rate the game? I think I rated the game fairly where it belongs, at a 7.5 out of 10. It's got all the good things going for it. It is just a little limited in scope by the nature of what kind of game it is. I think if I was just saying personally for myself and not in terms of trying to recommend to everyone, then I would probably give it a higher mark. But in terms of how accessible this game is going to be for all people, and that most of you are fucking nimrods that just want to play Call of Duty all day and don't listen to podcasts about video games. Chances are, if you're listening to the show, the game is right for you. So please go grab it and play that. Kim, anything to say on the Invincible before the end
I'm just so excited to play more. I'm playing it on Tuesday.
We're gonna be able to
Can't
swing
wait.
back around and talk about it some more. And perhaps, I mean, if you complete it and want to do a spoiler cast on it, we can do that too. So that's certainly on the table.
Okay.
Speaking of games that we both completed that we should probably do a spoiler cast on.
Yes.
Man, I got to talk about Bramble the Mountain King.
The game that ruined you?
I got to talk about Bramble here. So I mentioned earlier that I was on a business trip this past week, and I did have downtime in my hotels in the evening, and there's force of habit. Kim selecting a game that I mean, honestly, like I'd seen it, but it was kind of off my radar. But you said this is your game of the year. Made me take another pass around with Bramble. So I pull it up on Game Pass, and I notice the time to beat on it is listed at like 5 hours. I'm like, this is a perfect game. I've got about 3 hours a night that I can commit to this. I'm in hotels 2 nights, so I'm just going to make really diligent use of my time those 2 nights and try and beat Bramble. Night 1. Bramble downloaded. I fired up in my hotel room. And I'm whisked away to this wonderful, lovely place of sunshine and fairy tales. A little boy with his candle walking around his room in his pajamas and looking at cute pictures and books. And then there's the window, and he's like, I'm going to go out in the window. And you go out to this beautiful night where there's stars everywhere, and you run into these really cute baby gnomes. And the baby gnomes are laughing and giggling, and you're playing games with them. You play all these games with these cute, adorable baby gnomes. And then you find your sister, and now you're frolicking through the woods with your sister and having all of this fun. And then it's like the fucking titty twister in that movie From Dusk Till Dawn, where like it then suddenly turns into like this crazy fucked up vampire movie. Except instead of being a crazy fucked up vampire movie, it's like this ogre thing captures your sister, and then like before you really have time to process it, the baby gnomes are getting squished into a million bloody pieces, and guts and entrails are flying everywhere. And then you get dumped into a pond.
I did tell you I'm wired a little bit differently, okay?
And then you get dumped into a pond that is just guts and entrails with an unseen blob moving under the surface that's trying to eat you.
It's such a good game.
This game is insane.
Yes.
And it never lets off the gas. It never lets off the gas. That's like one of the first things you see. That shit is nothing. Nothing compared to what goes down in this game. And, you know, I kind of whisked by this warning when I turned on the game. And then I kind of decided, you know, maybe I should read this warning real quick and see what it says. And then I noticed like one of the first words in the warning is infanticide. I'm like, oh, we're gonna do that. I'm like, maybe it's just the gnomes. It wasn't just the gnomes.
Okay,
Wow.
but no spoilers, no spoilers.
Oh, I'm leaving it there. I mean, I'm just saying it wasn't the gnomes. I'm not saying that the gnomes don't get split in half by bear traps. I'm saying it's not the gnomes.
But
You know, if I'm ever on a rowboat and I feel something behind me, just take me out. If I'm ever on a rowboat rowing through a lake and it feels like there's someone behind me, like right behind me, I've never seen something so fucking creepy in my entire life.
It's probably one of the most fucked up games I've ever played. I've played a lot of really fucked up games.
I don't want to harp on just on it being fucked up. There's one more thing I wanted to throw in, and then I'll have my thoughts cleared. And you're gonna love this last point, right? Juxtaposition, because it puts these horrifying, like almost comically grotesque moments next to the most beautiful moments I've ever seen in video games and the most beautiful music I've ever heard in video games. It's a masterclass in that facet, honestly. And does it in ways that Frank, I just can't think of a comparable example. to Bramble. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was
No, it's okay. It's
I was about to lose that thought. I'm like, I don't want to lose that thought because it's really important to the game. So yeah, Kim, this is something else. I mean,
Yeah.
you've really found a diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Yeah, and I feel like it's on Game Pass. Nobody knows it. I mention it to people and they're like, "Oh, I've never heard of it." And I mean, everything about it is really it's a beautifully sad, disgustingly gorgeous, heartbreaking, wonderful story. And I know like all those words are like all over the place, but that's literally the game. The music, if you don't get goosebumps from the music, there's something wrong. The just the animation and the art style is absolutely astounding. The story is hard. The story is hard. Um but it is by far one of those games that I don't know. It's it's up there. Like Atlas Madness Returns is probably my favorite, like fun, crazy game. But if you were to ask me what my favorite game is that I will never leave my head, it's Bramble.
So I'd given some thought. It takes a couple days to like truly digest the game. The game has very, very minor flaws. Um, one of the components of the game involves a stone that Oli, your character, uses as a weapon. There's some segments of the game where you use it. Most of the time you don't. But for the segments that you do use it, it's basically left trigger. So like the same feeling of a controller like for doing aim down sight. And then you use the right stick to point and it'll lock onto a circle and then you shoot. That's a little clunky on a controller. I don't know if it's less clunky on a mouse, but it's a little clunky on a controller. And you need to use it in all like the highest stakes moments of the game. The other is that just some of the character models, I love the art direction of them, but I literally mean they're rough around the edges. In ways that can kind of hurt some of the effect that they're going for. Now, take that with a grain of salt because I just basically laid out that the effect of this game is better than anything else that I've ever seen. Okay. So I've given a lot of thought to, well, how should I score this game? How much of my own emotion should I let get in the way versus the game itself? And I've kind of decided that when I'm saying things like, it does this better than anything else that I've ever seen in anything else. And I mean, goddamn, I play a lot of video games, guys. Bramble is a 9.7 out of 10, making it the third highest rated game that I've looked at this year. So Bramble the Mountain King is absolutely astounding. I can't believe it's on Game Pass. I can't believe it's impossible to find the curation on Game Pass. But at 5 hours long, there's really no reason to not play this game. I mean, you could even say things like, "Well, I don't really like that kind of game." It's 5 hours. Shut up and play it, kind of thing. So, Bramble, the Mountain King, guys. That
But be
wraps up what
prepared.
we've.
Now I gotta play it.
Yeah,
You have to,
well,
Johnny. You
I do.
have to
I
play
do.
it. I'm curious to know what you think about it.
I guess the only like asterisk to throw in there is like, if infanticide, suicide, blood and guts, like heavy tragedy is going to be an issue for you,
Yeah.
pass.
Yes, it's heavy. It's a heavy game.
Pass. But if you're okay with those things and you can look at it from an artistic standpoint, then proceed. Guys, that wraps up the games we've been playing this week. Told y'all we would be a-okay on time. We look at this. We're 84 minutes in. So it's time for us to get out of here, is what
Yeah.
that means. Johnny, to you first. Any closing thoughts for either of us or the audience as we prepare to depart for this week?
Nope. Have a great weekend. See you guys next week.
Kim, any closing thoughts or any last things you'd like to add before we get out of here for the week?
No, just be kind.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode of the Power Gamer Podcast for you to enjoy. Until that time, I'm Mike Dawson.
I'm Johnny Paulus.
I'm Kim Ponticello. Ponticello.
Ponticello. Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip flop.
Ooh, yeah.